important notes right there. I was wondering, like, every time I walked forward, you thought I was going to talk, and you got quieter every time. So I'm just going to keep, like, doing that and see how that works for y'all. I'm sorry, Susan.
That's okay. You don't have to apologize to me at all. All right, so we're running just a couple of minutes behind, but my name is Susan Garcia Nikolova, and I am your church council chair, and I just wanted to welcome everyone and thank you for coming out tonight. And for those of you that are online, thank you for tuning in as well. I want to be mindful of your time, and I know that Richard has a lot of things to share, as well as a lot of the folks from our committee chairs. So if you would just bow your heads and pray with me, we will open up our meeting in prayer. Dear God, we thank you for the gift of Richard and for the time he has served as our pastor. We are grateful for his leadership, guidance, and the countless ways that he has ministered to us. As Richard embarks on this new chapter, we pray that you will be with him. May you grant us wisdom and discernment as we navigate this transition, and may you bless Richard, Anona, our new pastor, with strength and resources needed to fulfill your purpose. May Anona continue to grow in faith and love with open hearts and open minds. We pray this all in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Richard.
I'm not used to applause. Hey guys, first, most of you were here Sunday on this series. I haven't done this before. Do these things. There we go. Even if you weren't here. So I'm going to walk through the process and what I talked about on Sunday in case you weren't here on Sunday, and then we'll open up for some questions, and I'll answer what I can. But first, I just want to say thank you. Everybody pretty much that came up to me on Sunday morning, the affirmation, the comments, the encouragement, the hopes for the future was nothing but beautiful. And it is such a reflection of the heart of this church, and to have been a part of this for, as you know, quite a few years, from the time I couldn't even speak, and to get to the place where we're celebrating, for me anyway, I'm celebrating, the idea of getting to retirement. I just cherish the time that I've had with you guys, and just want to say that as we open. We're going to have a little bit of time tonight where we're going to walk through normal things, just so that you get your usual all-church meeting update. So I'm going to ask you, because you're my boss, would you rather me talk about the retirement stuff first, or would you rather us follow and hear like our worship, grow, serve direction? Any preference? All right, well, there we go. If Lee says it, she speaks for all of us. So I'll walk through some of the things that I talked about on Sunday morning. I've got it in a different order on this because this is planned for this meeting, not for a sermon. One is that the transition is different, right? This is a different moment for us than we've had literally in 32 years, all right? So if you think of Jack's tenure and my tenure coinciding and overlapping for a good time together, 32 years. And we've not had a new pastor come in from outside the church. You had the benefit of getting a moment where Jack was willing to stay longer for me to go through a process to be able to follow behind and to fill in that role, and you already knew me, all right? So the different thing that's happening is that the appointive process is in effect in a different way, in a more normal way for a Methodist church, that you will have a pastor coming from outside the church to Anona, to serve moving forward. More than likely, guys, I can't speak, I'm not prescient, but more than likely, because we're a large church, you're going to get another long-term stay pastor, all right? So probably the person that they're bringing in is an intention to say, you're going to get 10 or 15 years would be my thought. I don't know that as a fact, but that would be my guess, looking at now the history of how they're sort of handling larger churches. To be able to keep some stability for them, that more than likely that could happen, but that's not a guarantee. I did emphasize on Sunday, some of you might be thinking, why can't Jeremy go through the process that you went through? Why can't Jeremy become the senior pastor? And we go through another moment like that. And as you heard on Sunday morning, the answer from Jeremy was, ain't no way. Probably without the ain't, right? He wants to be executive pastor in leading worship and traditional worship services and things like that, and that's something to celebrate. And he would have to go back to school. It would be a longer process for him, and it's not doable nor desirable on his part. So don't get any feeling that he's being skipped over. It's not something that he wanted to have anyway. Talked about the fact that this has been a little bit long in process, so you may not know the length because you weren't involved in all the conversations with staff parish and the bishop and our district superintendent coming out late last year to be able to speak with us and to hear the heart of our leadership, especially from the staff parish committee, to be able to hear from them. What's the things you love about Anona? What's the things you loved about Richard's leadership and what that looks like? What's the things that you, if you wanted to expand and stretch a little bit, what would that look like? And for them to be able to articulate all of those things, and staff parish got the chance to be able to do that and came out with a response, in essence, from the district superintendent that was saying, just like you, we don't want Anona to fail, right? Our heart is your heart in that. And we're going to, this Emily Hotho, who will be preaching this coming week, by the way. So our district superintendent will be here this week, not with the intention of having to barrage her with questions. I hope that this is tonight sort of helps us take care of some of the questions that you have, because she can't answer much more than what I'm giving you anyway. She's just coming to preach and to be a part and to help us to realize that she is integral, that we're a part of a larger community of churches called the United Methodist Church in the Florida Conference. And she's coming to preach to us during a wonderful season called Lent. And we celebrate that with her. So we're looking forward to her being here. But she, during that meeting, was talking about that. We don't want Anona to fail. You don't want Anona to fail. And what I commit to you is that I'm going to go find the best possible person to be able to step into the chair that is the senior pastor of Anona United Methodist Church moving forward. And as I shared on Sunday, I feel like she nailed it. She went and got the best person. Just amazing. So we're looking forward to that moment coming. And you're wondering, if you weren't here on Sunday, when do we get to find out, Richard? When? Not now. Not now. I can't tell you now. And I don't know if I said it in all services, but the reason I can't share it with you now is because the person is a part of another United Methodist Church. And if that word was to circle back to the church before they get to announce it to their church, that would not be a good thing, right? So we want to give them the ability to be able to speak to their church and to convey in the way that they feel is best for them, to help them succeed in the midst of what for them is a difficult transition. That makes sense? Okay, so I am trying to avoid saying the name, right? So please don't ask me. Because sometimes I've been known to let something slip. I happen to be a thing called a human, and I make mistakes. So for us to be able to get to that place, I just really appreciate it. Don't encourage me to make a mistake. You're counting the days. All right, so there are 26 days. So it is, thank you, because I wasn't specifying the date. It is going to be the 27th, I think it is, of April that we can announce it. And at that time, I've already spoken with the individual, and more than likely we'll have just a short little video from them to be able to, you'll get to see a little bit of the personality, not just hear name, right, or see picture. So we'll have a little bit of a video of that individual just talking to us about coming to Anona, okay? So it won't be a big, long thing. It's not a sermon, just a brief moment. So that's in development as well. Remember object draft pick. I didn't talk about the draft pick. I think I talked about that on Sunday, that we were the largest church in Florida that had an opening this year, which meant that we became what's called the number one draft pick. So that also helped us to be able to get the best possible person for coming in. Let's see, talked about that already. Already talked about Jeremy. Can we know who the next person is? And the answer is no. And very good. Golly, you guys, best congregation ever, right? Sometimes you listen. That's awesome, all right? The other thing on the tail end of this, why does Richard get to announce before Announcement Sunday, right? I have special permission to be able to announce before Announcement Sunday. It's because I'm not moving to another church, all right? It's called retirement, and that means I'm not moving to another church, so there's not a concern about you guys finding out. Otherwise, you wouldn't be finding out for another 26 days if they were moving me. And if you're not familiar with the Methodist Church, movement is common, all right? So in many cases, especially when you're first getting started out, so if y'all remember Bailey Schreiner, all right? Bailey, who grew up in our youth group, and I went a few years ago and stood with him. He invited me to stand with him as he got ordained, and he's moved 2 or 3 times already, right? So it's like, because he's moving up. All right, so you get shorter stays on the beginning side of the curve, and then it tends to start stretching out a little bit more as you maybe move into a mid-sized church. Pardon? In nowhere land, yes. You know, somewhere that I can't pronounce. Many cases, right? So this is the process that is the Methodist Church, and that's why I get to announce early, is because I'm retiring. I'm not being moved. Okay. There has been some concern. Some people have been apparently talking to some other people. Is Richard sick? Depends how you define that, right? So from a physical perspective, no, I'm fine. Mentally, who knows? All right, so I am fine. And even when I talked about Linda, Linda's fine, right? You know, she's on a heart medication now. The lung situation is no longer a thing that has to be monitored. As I was saying, it was basically an opening of the eyes. And I get the wisdom, guys. I get the wisdom of y'all, okay? And I talked about it in the early service. I don't think I talked about it in the other 2 services, but in talking with some of you, mainly in leadership, conversation about retirement came up was I've lost my spouse, and I stopped early, and I don't regret one moment that I took the extra several years to be able to be with my spouse, and that spoke as well. Call it selfish, call it what you will, but that's where we're at. And for me to have a little bit of time with Linda where we're healthy and whole. I also look at Jack. I look at Jack who lovingly stayed the extra couple of years and ended up not getting that time with Sharon, all right? And to a degree that somewhat hurts me because he did that so that I could go through 2 years of Methodist process in order to become senior pastor here. I also feel like this was a season for Richard, all right? That the way that I am wired, the one who told me stop saying this, is for crisis. And we didn't know that as soon as the transition happened, that COVID would strike. We thought the big thing that I had to overcome was the fact that we had a long-term pastor that had been here for 20-something years, 27, 28 years, and that normally you have about a 25% hit in attendance and giving when a long-term beloved pastor leaves the church. And that was the big concern. And instead it turned into COVID. And that became the big concern. And we all remember that for those of us who were with the church during that time. That became the big concern. Then we had the Westpath crisis with the situation with the retirement plan and going through that and realizing that we had shorted our staff since 2006, their contribution towards their retirement, and walking through that process and realizing we were taking a $1.2 million hit to our church. And how do we navigate that? I had 3 lawsuits that we're still carrying over. For those of you who were part of the church back then, from the arrest of our children's minister. What else do we have? I feel like there's 5 or 6 things. I've lost track now. Hurricanes. We'll get to that with trustees. And I like everybody's like, this. And these were not small things. And one of the great gifts that God has given me in terms of leadership is I'm not Jack, all right? Jack is the person that you want to get behind, and he's going to charge us forward. I'm the person that, if a crisis hits, can bring stability and help a congregation to be able to navigate through some difficult stuff and come out feeling like we're going to be okay. And that's the season we have been through. And I truly believe that God maybe arranged things, I don't know, maybe, that it made it possible for me to be pastor during that time. And my prayer, I keep looking at Molly because she's like, stop saying it, about the crisis, is that those major crises, that you're not going to have, anybody want another $1.2 million hit, right? Anybody want another COVID? You don't want those things. Yeah, hurricanes a little bit more likely. We don't want those things, but we've come through them, and we have come through them still being a Nona, still strong, still moving forward. And that's nothing but beautiful. That's a reflection of the congregation that is called a Nona, right? What we need now is somebody that's going to be able to come in and take it to that next level, like what I was talking about on Sunday, that can build on the foundation that exists, that we're now at a place of stability, and can now launch us onto a new trajectory upwards. And so that next person coming in with that more visionary, fired up, lead us forward type of personality to be able to come in, I think is a wonderful gift for the church as well. All right, so I think that's about the gist of what I shared on Sunday. So I'm going to stop there, and I will answer questions. Would microphone? Thanks. Anybody want to run the microphone? Oh, sorry, I did not say that in this one. I told on Sunday. Thank you. I appreciate that. So last day is tomorrow. And so the question for those of you who are online, and by the way, if you're watching online, I can't remember probably these cameras. If you're watching online, the chat is being monitored. So if you have questions as well, Kathy Freeberg will let me know that there's a question, and you can type in your question in there, and we will seek to respond to those as well. So the question was, when is my last day? My last Sunday is June 27th, 9th, something like that. The last Sunday of June. And I was talking about that I sat down with Jack, had lunch with him last week, and I've invited him to join me on that day with Jeremy, and we'll have a wonderful celebration of remembering stories together. But also, I said, at the end, we're going to turn and affirm who that next person is, and to be able to lift them up and be excited about that, to not make the day just about what has been, but to talk about what will be, okay? So June 30th is the official last day, Methodist Church appointment process. July 1st, the new person starts. Thank you. Other questions? Or have I answered them all? That would be amazing. Uh-oh.
Will you be an emeritus?
There you go.
Will you be an emeritus?
Apparently that's not on, but it said, will you be an emeritus? I can't even spell it. So, so will I be an emeritus? I have to be gone for at least a year, right? So that in the Methodist Church. And if I was to answer that, even past that question, I'll answer a different question to answer that question. We have bought a home elsewhere. All right, so we have a home that we have bought up in the Ocala area, if you're familiar with Silver Springs. So we will be moving up there. But our daughter lives here. So we've got a camping group here to Nona, and if you're not a member of the camping group, reach out to me and we'll invite you out, because we go to Fort DeSoto on occasion. And even if you're not a camper and you want to join us for a potluck night, we can probably arrange that too. I'm trying to not look at the people who are the camping people, because they're probably saying, what are you doing? So to invite you down for a camping type thing. So I'll be down here at Fort DeSoto quite frequently, mainly because my daughter's here, to be able to visit with her. Yes? Is that turned on?
Here.
It should light up on the little screen on the side of it.
If not, this one's working.
Is the person that, sorry, yeah, I guess it's working now.
Can you turn that down now?
Is the person coming local? I mean, are we going to have to incur an
Are
expense
you
of
crazy? Is that what you said?
that? No.
Local.
Local.
Not local.
loco.
Okay, so
Local.
That would be loco en la cabeza.
So I'm not asking that so we can all run out and look at them.
Yeah.
I'm just asking about expenses incurred with bringing this person
so
in.
even if they're moving from out of town,
Yes.
part of what we do is help people to be able to move into town.
So you're not going to answer. Okay, got
Yep.
it.
How do you like that, huh? I'm working on becoming a politician next. I hear a question, I answer something else. I can work on that too. Other questions? Yeah. Hold on a second. We got a microphone.
I really don't know how to ask this, but do we still have a parsonage for a pastor? Or is that
We do
moved?
not.
We do not.
So all the pastors transit. Jack was actually the last one to transition to not having a parsonage.
Yes, right, I
And that was
remember
back probably 15 years ago at least.
Yeah.
That he moved into a house. So we no longer have a parsonage.
So when this new person comes, he purchases his own home.
They purchase a new home, yes.
Is there compensation through the church for that?
There's a housing allowance associated with our salaries.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Another good question. Thank you. See, you're like, any question I want to ask, he's not going to answer anyway.
Is Jeremy staying on?
Who? Who? So yeah, what we talked about that, I can't remember what I said on each service because it's always a little bit different. So what I was supposed to say on Sunday, if I did not say it in all services, was he's key to the continuity, all right? So while you're not getting a succession of a pastor from within the church moving, you have somebody come from the outside, you still have Jeremy, who provides some of the continuity, absolutely. And hey, hold on, wait a second. You may not be able to see this from a distance, but there was a Jeremy sighting on campus today. All right? So yeah, and that's Kim, his chauffeur, driving him in. So he's getting driven around. He went to Publix the other day, which means, you're pretty healthy now because you got to be able to walk all those aisles. It's good. So no, he looked great today. I had a nice talk, and yeah. Hopefully, he will continue to grow in his health and get better. We are not rushing that process. Somebody gave me great wisdom, and if you're out there, this credit goes to you. I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about recovery and saying that if you're coming out of a physically traumatic moment, on the good days when you're feeling good, 35%. Do 35%. Don't go straight to 100%, or you're going to find yourself on your back again the next day. 35%. I don't know if you know this, but Jeremy's hard-headed. All right, so sometimes he struggles to hear that and to stay away. So you can help him if you see him in the next week or two to say, how long you been here? And I'm not talking about years. I'm talking about how long you've been here today, and do you need to go home? All right, steer him towards that, because I will be trying to do the same.
You might tell them that he did get his prayer quilt today. And you guys, I take them home and have them ready. And every tie was tied but 3. And very often I have to tie many on a quilt. So thank you.
That makes you a true prayer warrior. Thank you, Barb. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks again for hearing, for just being y'all. I'm going to stay on the staff parish side of the equation, so we're going to work through some of the major committees, and I'm going to invite somebody forward from way in the back to be able to introduce to you our new Associate Director of Traditional Worship Arts, and that is Miss Dharam back here. And her husband, CJ, over here as well. And so we're welcoming them both. From what I heard, they were moving in this week, and Monday, so yesterday, right? And the bases were there, is what I heard. I heard about it all. I heard a lot of the bases. So somebody was making, yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't get off that easy. You have to come forward. CJ, you can come too, buddy. Just for them to be able to see, and the people online to be able to see that might be watching online as well. And if you could play, just kidding. Just kidding. So there is this awesome, welcome again. I don't know, is there anything you want to say? We'll get you a microphone. Thank you. It's like I haven't done this before. Here we go. Microphone, if you'd like to say anything.
Hi, so nice to meet you. So we finally made it, and then thank you for welcoming us really so warmly. We really desire to be used for God's kingdom and His glory. So please continue to pray for us. So as we settle in Florida, and we already love you, but everything looking forward to it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Neat moment, all right? So we're having staff meeting, and it had just wrapped up, and she's coming walking down the hallway over in the chapel building, and I'm coming walking out, and I see her, and I'm like, Dharam, and she's like, Richard. We've never met before. And she comes running towards me. And she wraps her arms around me and gives me this big old hug. And I'm like, that's a Nona. That right there is a Nona. And when we sat down together for a few minutes, I was like, I must say, I've never had an employee their first day come up in that way and give me this big old hug. And she goes, but I watch you on YouTube. I know you're a hugger. So it was wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. And we were also talking about the fact they're from Korea, and because my wife is half Korean, for those of you who do not know. And so it was just nice to have a moment to be able to share with them. So that is a big celebration. We'll get to hear her. She can be in the choir tomorrow night. I think Jeremy's going to try and be there. I don't believe choir, if you're not aware, I don't think he's going to be trying to direct, because we're trying to keep him from doing anything in that region for his chest. But to be able to support you and to just be with the choir, and we'll get to hear her on Sunday. And very much looking forward to having you leading us in worship. It would be wonderful. All right. So let's see that Steph Parrish. Scott, are you in here? Yeah. Why don't you come forward? We'll talk about some of the... Anybody notice that the lobby's closed? Anybody? All right. So I've asked Scott... to come forward to share with us a little bit about what's going on there and how things are progressing, or as you might say, not progressing, but we do have some new information. So,
hey, y'all. So we bring a little good news tonight. Let's back up to October. Everybody remembers a couple of hurricanes came through. We really were only affected by one. That was Milton. I was able to get to the church about 11 o'clock the morning after Milton, and I thought we were okay, but the power was out and I couldn't see, and I realized my feet were getting wet. So if you're not aware, quite a bit of the 2003 construction, which is the lobby, room 110, the glass hallway, part of the business offices, our floor drains had backed up. So it was not only water, it was black water, which is just black water, which is kind of a nice term for it came from the city sewer system. Now, here's the good news. Actually, there's quite a bit of good news. Thanks to our trustee chair, that afternoon, a National Restoration Company was standing in that lobby, and within days, the mess was cleaned up. So we didn't go months and weeks with contamination. We had that cleaned up very, very quickly. Second part that I just have to point out, we missed one Sunday, y'all, and that was because of electricity. We were out of electricity. Our worship venues were largely unaffected. And I just think maybe that's a God moment. It could be whatever you'd like it to be. But we missed only one day because of electricity. And we've been worshiping since. Now, since then, it's been quite a journey. It was cleaned up thanks to advice from our good friend, Chris King. We actually brought in another company to say, hey, is it really cleaned up? And the answer was, yeah, pretty much, except we found a couple more areas. And we lost our coffee bar in the lobby. So we had to tear out our coffee bar. It will come back.
I'm glad you said that fast.
Yeah, it will come back. We will serve coffee from the concrete floor if we have to, okay? I think you all are aware it's been a little bit of a process with insurance in terms of just not hearing anything. I'm here tonight to report there really has been some good movement on that end. We're not all the way to the goal line with that yet, but there's been substantial movement. Now, here's what I want you to hear. We're not waiting. I think behind the scenes it occurs to us you're not seeing what's happening, but we didn't wait. We have proposals to restore the lobby. The flooring, y'all, we got to replace 6,000 square feet of flooring, carpet and tile. That was a 6 to 8 week delivery time. That's here. That's waiting right now. So the materials are here. We've gotten proposals to start the work. We're getting proposals to replace the coffee bar. We're getting proposals to repair the roof, which won't delay opening the lobby. So when we get the green light, when we get all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, we are ready to move forward. I'm going to share with you, we do have to pull a permit for the work. That probably, realistically, if we could get a 4-week period on that, we'd be doing very good. It might actually be a little bit longer. So once we get our permit, I feel like we're going to be able to move forward quickly. Final thought for you all, and I'll take questions if you like. Well, let me add one thing. We did consider trying to use the lobby in the state that it's in, and the bottom line is we couldn't get to a point of really feeling safe about that. Final thought is we're going to move forward as quickly as possible. I just want to say to you all, room 110 is used 3 to 4 times a day, every day of the week. And y'all have been really, really patient. We have some groups that sometimes they meet in Wesley, sometimes we have to move them somewhere else. I've not heard one single complaint. You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing we really miss the fellowship. To being able to come together at the end of whatever service you choose to attend and just be an Anona family. And we hear that. And we're doing everything we can to move forward and make that moment possible again. Good on y'all for finding other ways to make that happen. Thank you for your patience. We're going to get it done just as quickly as we can, so we're back together. Is there any questions
for
about
Scott?
the lobby or?
There's a question.
Yep.
Do we have another microphone again?
I think I can talk.
Okay.
The walls, are any of the walls having to be removed and replaced?
The question
so-
is, are any of the walls have to be removed and replaced? For the entire area affected, the entire lobby, 2 of the offices, room 110, and the glass hallway, we had to remove the first 2 feet of drywall. Now, the 2 feet is significant because a drywall sheet comes in 4-foot sections, so they'll be able to come in and make that restoration real quickly. So we have a proposal to replace all of that drywall, texture, and paint. We're not going to just paint the repaired area, paint all of it so that it looks right. Here's kind of a cool part. Y'all remember, how many of y'all remember writing your messages on the concrete walls back in 2003, 2004? Some of that got exposed. Now, it was from y'all who could get down within 2 feet, okay? We can't see what's higher than 2 feet. But what some of the kids wrote, God pleased with me, be with my mom and dad. And some of those were exposed and have been kind of a joy to go back and look at. And again, it's about the Anona family, and those prayers are still there. Other questions about the restoration?
Emil?
So I have to give that to my husband?
Okay.
I gotta
Glad you
run.
wore the jogging suit.
Did FEMA help out with the costs and all that? or just fully insurance pays for this?
We did not qualify for any
Oh, you
of the
didn't
FEMA
qualify for FEMA.
assistance.
Okay.
Correct. That's a great question.
Yeah. Over, you got Bob over here.
What is the time frame once you get the permit?
That's a great question. What is the time frame once we get the permit? I can't answer that. I do have a commitment from one contractor who actually is already doing some work here on the campus for our preschool. We're pretty excited about having him here. His commitment was, once we get the permit, I will devote the resources to getting your work done. We don't want him to rush it, but we want him, once we have that permit, we have the get-go, let's get in here and get it done. Again, thank you all for your patience with this project.
And don't leave yet, because
Okay.
he's also got a roof work going on.
Oh,
that the
okay,
choir
you wanna
might
talk about
yeah,
that?
why not?
How many of y'all have sat in choir practice and felt water dripping on your head? Yeah, the roof above the music room, this hallway right here, and the music office and the men's room. That's over 30 years old. Prior to the hurricane, we were in the process of, we knew we had some leaks. We were in the process of trying to repair that. We finally got the go-ahead to do it after the hurricane, and the roofers are like, we're putting roofs back on homes that don't have roofs. But tomorrow, we are at the point that we will start that work of replacing the roof. Much shorter process. If you remember, January of last year, we did the wraparound roof that wrapped around Wesley Hall. That was over 8,000 square feet, and it took months. This will take nowhere near that long. We do have to move 3 commercial air conditioners. We're replacing one of those due to its age. So starting tomorrow, those rooms won't be usable for their purpose, but they will be accessible. So choir, you will be able to get your music. Sunday, if the work is still going on, we're going to make sure you can get in and get your robes and the materials that you need. It just won't be air conditioning in there probably until sometime next week if everything goes well. If everything goes well. So speaking of prayer, okay. I don't know why projects never seem to go like we think they're going to. But listen, we have a great roofer, Acoma Roofing, that did this work last year. They'll be out in force tomorrow. They have a great team. They're real committed to our church here, so we feel good about getting this work done in a timely manner. All right. Thanks, y'all. Oh, yeah.
Is all this paid for?
I'm sorry?
Is all this paid for?
Yes. Check, check, check. Have you written the check yet? No?
I think it's not too late to pass the plate.
Yeah, we could pass the plate. That's right.
You know how many times I tell a contractor, it's okay, we're just pass the plate twice on Sunday. So, yes, it is. Yes, it is. From various funding sources, I would probably defer to the trustees to, explain all of that. But no, there are no loans associated with any of this work at this point in time. Certainly not the roof work.
We continue to remain, sort of like I was talking about that $1.2 million. Even with that, we are debt-free.
That was a great question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Scott. I will give you your finance updates and attendance. If you'll recall, even at the last meetings that we've had, I told you we were running about 15% behind on attendance compared to last year, and that impact started in pretty much June of last year, and it has continued. So even if I look at the numbers for this year, we're down 13% in attendance compared to last year for the same time frame. That happened, guys, when that hit happened is when the vote happened. All right, so when that vote hit on sexuality, we lost 15% of our people pretty much in a moment in terms of attendance, and that has continued. And so we're still not looking at year-over-year numbers because it was in June of last year, so we can't totally see how we're actually tracking. So once June hits, you'll be able to start to see, well, from that, are we growing? And if I look at it now, if we're at 13%, it initially was closer to between 15 to 18%. which says, in my head at least, that we're probably actually growing again. So after that hit, we're probably getting a little bit of growth in terms of attendance. So if you're feeling it on Sunday mornings, especially when summer hits, and you're realizing there's not hardly anybody sitting around you, maybe in the early service, that's real. A good chunk of our attendance remains up there, all right, online. And that is also a strong giving portion of our attendance. So don't think that there's people that are just watching and not giving. We track it all independently. We can track through like PushPay and see if people are giving online that way. So you can actually track that type of thing. So giving in terms of the decline in attendance. So let's talk about that for a second. Compared to last year, I wrote down a number, and this is not a true number according to David Blighty, our treasurer right now. This is Gene Connell, who tracks the incoming through the money that's coming in. He then has to go and verify this. I'm looking at March numbers. He's only verified through February. So right now, our giving compared to last year is down $3,336. That means we're flat. All right, so we're tracking like this with a 13% decline in attendance. All right, so that's a good thing. That's not a great thing. All right, because anybody heard of the word inflation? Yeah. Anybody experienced the word inflation? All right, the church experiences the same thing, and so a flat compared to an increased budget means we're going to be starting to run behind. And one of the things, I was just finishing my finance letter for June, and I'm really emphasizing probably one of the greatest gifts you can give right now if you are capable, especially with a new pastor coming in. What I would hope for if I was coming in is an ability to say, can I breathe for at least that first 6 months as I'm coming in to be able to get a feel. And any small contribution increase that you could do to be able to help close the gap that is going to be developing would be very helpful and help that person coming in to dream with you rather than go into crisis with you in terms of finances, to be able to get to a place of let's dream together about what can be and to get to that. You hearing me? All right? And some of you are capable of giving more than a few dollars. And if you can do that as we get closer, if you want to sit down with me, please feel free to reach out, give me a phone call, and we'll sit down together. And I'm happy to, our finances are open to anybody to be able to look at. I'm happy to sit down with you and sort of say, here's where we're at. How would you like to help? Okay, so if that's something that you can do, please pick up the phone, give me a phone call. But overall, when you think about the fact that we've lost 13 to 15% of our congregation over the past year, and our giving is running flat, that's awesome. So thank you to you. I'm sorry, Rhonda. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Well, you guys, when I say inflation, you're experiencing it too, right? I'm not insensitive to the fact that you've got inflation. You're trying to deal with things and trying to make sure you can put food on your tables, you can have housing, all those types of things. And so do not put yourself out. But if you can stretch, consider doing so. And the other thing I put in there was, pray for your church, guys. Pray for your church. Pray for it as it's going through this transition, as you get to dream about what can be. Make that a big piece of your prayer life moving forward. Yes?
How's that related to the membership since the announcement, not just attendance? How's our membership increase or decrease compared to?
So I'm a pastor that doesn't care as much about the membership number. It doesn't mean that we don't track the membership number. For me, I trust more in the count of people actually attending the church, because membership can get inflated over time because you don't know. For instance, I don't know, but maybe 1% of the 15% that left, all right? They're still on our rolls if they didn't talk to us, all right? So our membership looks improperly inflated probably relative to our actual attendance. That makes sense? So we look at attendance or membership, and the numbers, 2,000, whatever. It's up there when our actual attendance on a Sunday during high season's been hitting upper 900s, including online. Okay? Yes?
I have a question about online
Yeah.
signing up. When you sign in, you can do that if you actually do it at 8:15, 9:30, or 11. If you go online after that to watch the sermon,
Yes.
because you've had other things happening, you really don't have a place to sign in. So, are there very many people that maybe who watch it on Sunday night or the next day?
I'll answer that question this way. Sort of like when what? Some people don't put their names in there. Okay, so it's the same thing online. So what we do in here is you'll see ushers come walking along and they're counting each individual person sitting in a seat. We can do the same thing online. So I can tell how many people are watching online on YouTube, Facebook, and on our website. I can't tell their names, but I can count the fact that they were there. All right, so it lets you know how many people view is what it does, but I can't tell you where they're viewing from. I can't tell you their address, their name, or anything like that. So we're still able to track the attendance even though I don't have the name. That make sense? Okay?
I just wanted
But
to
you are
add
correct
to
about
that.
the sign up.
Kathy has a question.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to that you can watch the sermon after the fact. You can go on YouTube or Facebook and you can access the sermon the week after, 2 weeks after, whatever. It's there.
And she tracks, so for attendance online, what she does is it's not just Sunday worship. We go till Saturday of the end of the week, and then that counts for worship because some people can't watch on a Sunday morning, and they might watch on a Thursday night, whatever the case may be. So the full attendance, she'll put in a number that's the initial number, and then at the end of the week, she'll check it before the new Sunday attendance kicks in, and then that gets added in, and then we have our total worship for a week. Great question, Mary. I don't know which one he wants to run over here. She's right in the middle. Actually, it might be easier for you, Scott. I think you can get behind the aisle. Yeah, but I want them to hear you online.
Okay, so I don't want you to get a big head, but sometimes I listen to you in the morning, and then maybe I listen the next day. So I'm getting counted twice then, because you don't know it's me.
Yeah, and there's some people that attend one service and another service. Same thing. So there's not a way for us to pull that out. The percentage of people that likely do that is going to be pretty small. But yes, you did get double counted if you do that.
Huge. It's huge.
Yeah, if you watch twice, you give twice. That's my motto.
The numbers are going to plummet.
What's that?
2 times 0 is
Any other questions about that? Yeah. Susan? We want it for online, for people. They can't hear you without the microphone online.
Does the church have an endowment?
It does not.
Are you working on that?
I am not.
Ed?
What we have is reserves. So that's part of how we got. But it's not an endowment. When I think of endowment, it's like you can take sort of a certain amount out at a time. This gives us access. So like when we were going through COVID, we had just gotten up to the goal that I set with finance, and that was that we wanted to get to half of our budget being available in reserve, and COVID struck. And what it allowed us to do was keep all of our staff on all the way through COVID, even when they were shut down and they may not be doing full-time stuff, and you can judge me for that, but I'll take your judgment and trump you one Jesus, all right? So we made sure that those folk did not lose their jobs. They did not lose their ability to put food on their tables, have their homes, those types of things. And ACDC did the same thing. So they were able to maintain with their reserves. It gave us an ability. What I would do is I'd go to finance and say, okay, so we're coming into a period of time. We thought it was going to be that was my thought. 4 to 6 weeks, COVID's done. That was my thought. So I wasn't even thinking about reserves. Well, as it kept going longer and longer, we got to the place of like, can we say that we'll have access to $250,000 of half of our budget? How much is our budget? About $2 million, all right? It's a little bit over that now. So half of our budget reserve, and I need access to 250 in order to be able to pay in case our giving is not at the same level as when we were worshiping fully, okay? Here's the cool thing. We let nobody go, right? Which made us eligible for what's called the earning earnings credit, something like that. Payroll retention credit, something like that, yeah. Because we let nobody go, all right? That ended up being $400,000 to us, all right? So the Methodist Church put out a thing to us, and we went and got, Lisa went to the training for that. We ended up hiring the company that did the training, and they helped us to be able to submit the information, and we got 2 out of the 3 quarters of check back. That money is part of why we didn't have to borrow money or come to y'all when we got that $1.2 million hit. And to me, that's just God. That's what I'm talking about. Like for the season and the moment, the way things worked out was, in the midst of a difficult time, also beautiful. No endowment. That was a long answer to no endowment. Want to ask me another question? I can talk longer. Any other questions about attendance or finances? All right, so worship, grow, serve. Where's our serve people? Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was like, okay, there they are. I forgot you were over there, guys. So when I talk about serve, this is from our missions committee, and these are your missions chairpersons. So let's give them a round of applause for Heidi and David. Your sarcastic self had a microphone right in front of you. See that? It's like you're related.
Stop. In case you're wondering, I'm David. This is Heidi. You never know. For missions, we
Yeah, I got to hold it up higher.
I can't do both.
Well, what I do is I rest it on my chin. That way you don't, just not under your chin. Right there. All
Right there?
There you go.
That's way too loud. Okay. For Super Bowl Sunday, the youth had got over a ton of food donated.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can hold that.
Please, yeah. Just for the youth. And $1,500 donated. So that's going to go a long way for whatever they're going to choose. Heidi, do you know what they're going to do with it? and then in March, that we just got out of, we had a faith build. And it says here, Jessica worked alongside a large team this past Saturday, packing bags for like snacks and stuff for the people that went out, worked on the faith build, which they all received and was well deserved. I've gotten one before, and little snacks and juice and stuff. So that's very nice. And I don't know when the house is supposed to be done. Any idea?
I know we just painted the outside of it, so we should be getting close at this point.
Yeah, so probably would.
End of April. Thanks, Bert.
You should be up here talking about that. Okay, end of April. So end of this month, it'll be built, and then we'll have dedication. So, and where am I at? Going forward, April's going to be Habitat focus again. Dedication should be coming around. And I am not a public speaker, in case you didn't notice. She's got the easy job. She's just standing there looking pretty.
Yeah, the
dedication date will be soon announced for the Young family that we all met. They were in front of us, and so that will be coming up soon for the Young family in particular. Yeah.
That's why she's here. Okay, and with May coming up, the focus is going to be on helping collecting for the veterans and help in their programs, and we'll also kick off a. They're planning a trip to Cuba for anybody who might be interested. They're going to be having a meeting about that. The trip is supposed to be in November, so just keep advised that that's going to come up if anybody's interested in taking a trip. And I think I've covered everything.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. Tag team duo. So the Heart of this Church for Missions is powerful and has been for many years. And thank you for not just your contributions, but I can look around this room, and if you think of prayer quilts, if you think of the clothing for the kids in Angola, if you think of all the different ways that we live out our mission, trips to Guatemala for medical missions, so many different ways that we live out the faith to be able to say, this isn't just about this little church, it's about this little church making a big impact in the world. So thank you guys for all your contributions in terms of not just finances, but your heart and your hands and your feet all woven together as one. Let's see. Does ACDC have anything that they would like to share? Sure, come on forward. This is Sandy. She is the chairperson of the committee for our Nona Child Development Center.
It's always fun to me to get to talk about Nona Child Development Center. It's a very, very wonderful, special place. And so much of it depends upon your support, and we really appreciate your prayers and your interest in us. Nona Child Development Center, for those of you who don't know, we serve children in preschool from ages 1 through the 4-year-old VPK class. But we also have before and after school care for elementary children. So it is a thriving, wonderful, happy, joyful place. And if you've never visited, you ought to, because they are always, the staff and the children are always smiling, always sharing. They use the Conscious Discipline program, so they're very self-controlled. They learn how to control themselves and then therefore be able to work with others likewise. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful surrounding. I can't leave here without bragging a little bit more about ACDC. One thing that they do continuously, and you all have no idea how difficult this is, they have unexpected surprise visits from the licensing board, the health department, and then once a year they have, or maybe twice a year, they have fire inspection as well. Consistently, we are probably the only program in this county that gets 100% on all of those every single time. And I have to brag about that. Because they check things like, do you have a bug up in the light fixture? I mean, it's so technical that it's just very difficult to do that well, and they do it consistently. The ACDC is under the direction of Marion Denton, who does a beautiful job and is very, very dedicated to the school, to the children, and to the staff. So we are very grateful. They're in the middle of a room renovation now, which was alluded to earlier, that has taken us a whole year to get the permit and the move to go forward. But they're doing some renoing over in their building. And things are moving along. Children are happy. And we are happy that they're so happy, and they're learning, they're growing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. Thank you for letting me brag a little bit.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I was talking with the new pastor and talking about our preschool and reflecting on the fact that we're 153 years old, and our preschool celebrates, if you recall, their 53rd anniversary, which is nothing but awesome. And it goes back to Sally Berthy and on through. And if you all remember Sharon, what was your last name? Yeah, Sharon Stevenson and Pam Reeder and Mary. There's just so many people that have helped that school to be what it is. And the tradition that goes with it and watching those kids grow up is nothing but awesome. As far as our children's ministry on the church side of the equation, I want to lift up something I heard this morning from our little kids director, Jen. And she was saying that we have 10 kids moving up into kindergarten this year, which is, guys, you don't know how much of a celebration that is. If I go back to what I talked about with those lawsuits, all right, that wiped out our children's ministry. And that meant it fed all the way up into our youth ministry and impacted them over the course of these years. And what we've been trying to do is start to focus on the beginning side of the equation again, to where we start getting the beginnings of the double digits that we used to have of kids moving up through the program, through the ministry. That does not happen without ACDC's involvement as well. And the partnership that is growing between the church and the school has been beautiful. Jen's now working over with them. Malia from the preschool attends our program ministry team meetings. When I just meet with the program side, Marion attends the staff meetings as well, and really get into a place where we're seeking to form more and more of that connection to be able to have the church and the preschool more connected. I see it in contemporary worship, where I'm now getting to see, I call it my preschool row. I've talked about that a few times now, but I'm going to keep emphasizing it. It's neat because you start to see some of the teachers, you start to see some of the parents, and you realize that their kids are now involved in the kids ministry or the little kids ministry. When Easter comes, which is only a few weeks from now, preschool teachers are going to be helping us out in terms of volunteers in the nursery environment. And I'm going to pause right there to also say I'm going to be putting out a video with Miss Bonnie probably tomorrow, so watch your Facebook feed. But basically what it's going to be saying is volunteers for Easter in the kids ministry, not the little kids ministry. Right now we've got 3 for Easter, and we need at least 12 for Easter because some of the people are traveling that normally are in there. And what she said is it's the easiest day for you to volunteer because everything gets led from the front. It's a craft day. You'll sit down with the kids and you'll do a craft with them, and that pretty much covers the morning. So if you can step up or prod somebody next to you and say, you'd be really good for that, and they'll look at you and say, you'd be really good for that, and you'd both be right. All right, so I'd love to see those volunteers in there helping out and making sure that Easter on a day when we'll have 100+ kids on this campus for the Easter egg hunt, to make sure that they have a wonderful day that gives an opportunity for them to come back. And suddenly the nursery's filled up. And next year we've got 12 or 15 kids moving into our kids ministry from the little kids ministry because you said, you know what? I can do a craft with a kid on Easter morning at the 9:30 hour. Yes. Oh, I thought you were raising your hand, but you're like, fist pump. Let's all do that together. Fist pump. That's right. That's a no-no, guys. Any other questions for tonight? If not, I think I'm at an end. Have I missed anybody that needs to talk in the room? Anybody? I don't want to leave anybody out. I've been known to offend people. It's a gift. All right. Yes.
Just checking. Is ACDC still busting at the seams? Yes. Okay. Okay. Are we planning for them to have comfort? I mean, are they like uncomfortably busting at the seams? No, not okay. But they are thriving. Great.
So part of like when Sandy was talking about the room that's being renovated, that's a room that wasn't a classroom. All right, so that's actually an expansion of the Anona Child Development Center's ministry to be able to have an additional classroom added. Right now they're meeting, as I keep talking about every once in a while in sermons, in the room that is the chapel conference room, but their intention is to be in the room that's getting renovated. So that was an addition of a class last year. And when I sat down with Marion, I've only shared this once, I think, but we've been growing that since COVID. It's been like a class per year that ACDC has been growing in that capacity. Even with the growing number of availability, it's getting filled, which is also a reflection of the leadership of the preschool and the knowledge within our community. I don't mean this church alone. I mean within the community that says they know we get hundreds. They know that when it comes to kindergarten readiness and they come in for those assessments, we're amongst the best preschools to be a part of, to have your kid ready for kindergarten. Yeah.
With regard to ACDC, isn't that building a two-story building? And what is upstairs? Do we have classrooms up there that we use or not?
We do not have classrooms up there. For preschool, to have upstairs is difficult for them to be able to go up and down the stairs. You can probably speak to this more. Why don't you hand it off to Sandy?
We do not have classrooms upstairs because it's not safe for preschool children to be going up and down the stairs. It's a danger. It is used for other purposes, some storage. There's also a teacher's lounge upstairs so that when they have a little break ever, they can go up and relax a moment, you know. And some teachers teach the morning, and then there's a little break until school is out when the elementary kids get here. So that room there's a room up there for them to be able to do that. But no students are upstairs. We're not allowed to do that.
And the neat thing even out of that was that room, that the teacher's lounge that they have, was done through the missions committee. So they did that for them because we were doing it for schools. We did it for Largo, Seminole Middle, and I think a couple other schools, Ridgecrest, where we provided things in their teachers' lounges that came out of our missions committee. Yeah. Any other questions? The room's gotten smaller. All right, my friends, I love you. Know that I love you. And that love will not be gone. And I will be seeking to come back to be able to worship with you and to have moments. I don't want to be a distraction. All right, so just hear that. And I am supposed to stay away for a year. The new pastor might allow something different, but even then, I don't want. It's not about being up front. I want you to see your new pastor as your pastor. Okay, and to be able to get excited about that. And I truly am excited for you to be able to get to first see the person, and then be able to meet, because you'll like the meeting. Just amazing. So it will be good. It'll be a challenge, right? Just because it's a change. Stick in there and watch what God does. Shall we pray? God, I just thank you for this church. I thank you for the heart, for missions, for making a difference in our world, for stepping in to do pack-a-sack meals, to be able to go read in a school, to be able to build a house, to be able to have Stephen ministers that sit down one-on-one with people, to have a child development center that has more than 100 kids involved in it, and I get to listen to them laugh and scream outside my door sometimes. There's just so many things, God, that we are so thankful for, and I would just ask that you continue to bless this church as it proceeds into the future like you have for 153 years now, to be a place of vitality, of passion, of your spirit filling us so that we can pour out into the community that surrounds us, pour out into places like we were just invited into Cuba, pour into Guatemala, pour into all the places that you were calling us to, and to be excited about it. Grant us a peace in the midst of the transitions that we're going through, to realize that your hand is present through it all, and we can trust especially in that. And Lord, as we come into this time of Easter, we celebrate the fact that we get to worship you, to realize what your Son, Jesus Christ, did for us. And Lord, to celebrate the day when he came back to say, it is real. It's real. I am here with you. I am here for you. Lord, let that day especially be a day where we're welcoming people into this place in a way that says, love you. We are so glad you are here, that they might be able to experience your love and your presence and realize that this could be a home for them past Easter. All these things, God, and anything else that is wonderful, good, and true that we can do, we lift up to you. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. And we all say, Amen. Thank you so much, guys. If you are a contemporary worshiper, actually, I'm going to say this in announcements as well. So last announcement before you leave, you have, every single one of you, put your hand up. Put your hand up voluntarily. I, state your name, am a member of Anona's hospitality team. All right? When Easter comes, forget the commitment that you just made, because you are a member of Anona's hospitality team, and there will be people coming onto a campus that does not have a lobby. There's not doors that are clear for them to be able to come in. We need people to greet people at doors, be able to show them through. If they come on this side for contemporary and they're trying to find the kids environment, they have to go through contemporary worship service. I need people to be present there to be able to say, you look lost. I'm lost all the time, but let's be lost together, and I'll show you where you need to go, and walk them over to the kids' education area. Can I get some of that? All right. You got a wonderful person right there. Stand up. Stand up. This is Ava, who heads up the team over in Contemporary. And so if you want to be able to help her out, get with her. You two back there, stand up. Yeah. Stand up. These two, one of them's married to David. I got it wrong the other time. I apparently said the wrong name. You're not, right? All right, so David, who was up here, the other one, married, right? Ann is married to David. Those two are the people that I was talking about that are handling the coffee and getting all the stuff navigated from place to place, and you can help them out, especially on Easter morning, all right? So you saw their faces. Don't just run out the door. Just say, if you're available, I realize I'm looking at choir members. You're not available. I get it. But if you're not in the choir, try and make yourself available. God bless you. Go in peace. I'll shut up. Amen.
This pyramid at the bottom is driving me nuts. I'm taking it home, repairing it.